Peace and blessings, everyone. This is Rasharn Medina with The Look Inside. So, today I want to talk about emotional eating. And this is a very triggering subject for many of us. So, I speak about this because in the collective or in the masses, I can say that many of us use food and the way we consume food as a means to suppress our emotions, bring emotional comfort, and bring a form of a false emotional stability or homeostasis. This is key because when it comes to eating, that is a biological function of our life, but eating to deal with our emotions was never exactly part of the original programming. So then the question is, where does this come from? Why is it a lot of us are eating in certain types of ways, like certain patterns, we're eating certain types of foods, and then we're doing it for emotional reasons that are a lot of times unconscious. And I say it's because normally we have emotional baggage that we have not dealt with. We have things that we've just never processed, emotions that we have not processed. And so a lot of times food, it can be a way that we keep the body in the same pattern that it's always been in terms of pattern of operation. And when we keep the body in the same pattern by eating the same way, we're saying, okay, as long as I eat like this, as long as I have the food I want, and it brings me pleasure and discomfort, I don't have to feel or deal with the thing, that fear, that anxiety, that sadness, that emotional pain that I am using this food to push down and suppress. And so when we use food in that manner, food becomes an addiction rather than a biological necessity, which is, very interesting, because how could something be both a necessity and an addiction? And my perspective is that it lies in the way that we use it. And when it comes down to emotional eating, I think the masses are engaged in that. And we can see it in the types of foods that we eat as well, because it's a lot, especially if we're eating junk food or food that we know is not good for our bodies, but we eat it anyway against logic. To me, that says that there's an emotional imbalance going on that is causing us to resort to putting something in the body that is not good for us. And mind you, I am not proposing any specific kind of diet. I'm just noting that universally everyone does recognize that junk food is called junk food for a reason. So if we put something that we know pretty much universally is not good for our biology, and we do it anyway, that could say stuff about our self-esteem, that maybe we don't feel we deserve to have a healthy body. That could also mean that we are saying, I want to feel the way that this type of food makes me feel. It could say that as well, because sometimes food can bring in certain emotions, and in certain studies you do hear that when it comes to the way that certain food is prepared, it can have a lot of artificial ingredients. Certain animals, the way that they're prepared, they could be killed in a very brutal way, or maybe they're made to suffer and the emotions are carried forward. So then even if it should have been a clean process of eating meat, now because of the way it was prepared, it becomes a kind of toxic junk food instead of a clean meat. So you even have that going on. So with that being said, we talk about emotional eating, right? What about the emotions that are going into the food before we even get to eat it? That's a whole nother take on emotional eating. Sometimes we're eating emotional food and it's not even our emotions. There could be emotions of other creatures, of the food that that we're consuming that's going into that. So if that creature was suffering, if it wasn't a clean, basically a clean kill, so to speak, that could really reflect in what we're taking into our bodies. So that's my perspective on that. So going forth, it's been a focus of mine. I have made certain dietary changes over time, and I don't preach them onto people, though I do share them if I happen just to be telling people what I do have going on. I'd say my focus is addressing why I eat the way I eat and why I eat what I eat. So it's more just for analysis sake and to see, okay, is this an area that I can review, possibly improve, and possibly make my life better? That's more so where I come with, where I'm coming from when I speak about emotional eating, because it's something that's happening on a very massive scale. So, and it's still something that I'm doing, even though I have made certain dietary changes and I've omitted junk foods from my diet. I still do currently engage in emotional eating, more so in the pattern of eating that I engage in. So it's something that I'm still working through, and I know that as I do that, there are going to be emotions that I'm going to have to deal with, because I'm no longer suppressing them through the habitual way that I would eat food. So I'm going to take that head on as much as I can. So, and if that's something that any of you guys are interested in, I'd say do the proper research and decide for yourselves if that's something you want to journey through as well. So yeah, definitely don't take it from me as a cosign. I'm just really just sharing where I'm at in my journey and what my perspective is on it. So that's what I have for today, emotional eating. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope you guys are committed to your journey and taking a look inside. Peace and blessings.